Okay. So good morning. So today, in last class we just had one class till now, and in last class we talked about what is ServiceNow overall, right? What are those capabilities and what is now platform at a high level? Now we'll go further deep dive into this. So if you remember, we talked about these things. We have completed the first part here, which is fundamentals introduction. I have given you all those sources of information, the ones which I am showing up here, right? You have already gone through these websites. We have already seen what is the function of each website. These are very important things to learn ServiceNow. And the most important thing is to get this instance which you've already received as per information, right? So we're good on that part. Now we will talk about platform and architecture overview, and we'll try to cover even now platform user interface. We'll see how we'll not be speeding up things, just to finish it. We just want to do it step by step. You understand it, then only we move forward. Yeah, that is how the approach would be. So as I said, if you remember the course content thing I talked about already, we had seen this definition on the very first day. Application platform as service. I hope it is clear to you now what is application platform as a service concept, right?
Yeah.
Now the next concept here is if you remember, we talked about these 4 workflows which ServiceNow offers, and among these 4 workflows there are multiple products. For IT workflows there are a hell lot of products. For employee workflows also there are a lot of products. Customers. So for every of these workflows there are a lot of products. The only thing is usability differs from workflows to workflows. In this case, it is used by IT guys. In this case, it is used by end users, employees. In this case, it is used by customers. In this case, it is used primarily by developers to create something completely new from scratch. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
We have seen that on the ServiceNow.com site, if you remember. I'll just give you a quick refresher there also, just to show you these 4 workflows. We went here on that day, and these are the 4 workflows we talked about, right? You can see in the right-hand side, IT workflows, employee workflows, customer workflows, and creator workflows, right? The same thing is here. No changes there as such. Now, if you see all of these things, work integrations, CMDB, knowledge base, service catalog, machine learning, AI and analytics, web, mobile, UX, developer tools. Now, all of these things are now platform capabilities. And when I say these are now platform capabilities, it means that they can be used across all the products of ServiceNow. They are not product specific, they are product agnostic activities, right? And this is where I said that, first of all, in any fundamentals course of ServiceNow, that is the first thing you need to learn, that what is that capability of Now platform, which can be reused across multiple products. This is what we need to understand. Workflows and integrations, you have flow designers, you have also workflows there already. You have integrations with different systems. That is what you can do there. So for any product you can do that. CMDB is something which is reused across all the products. There are so many tables inside ServiceNow, and it is a relational database. So we'll have the entire table structure. We'll learn more about all those tables and the structures in further sessions. I'm not going into those details right now. I'm just telling you, knowledge base, this concept of knowledge base can be used again everywhere. Service catalog, when I say knowledge base, it means that knowledge articles which your IT teams can refer, which your end users can refer, your customers can refer to solve the problems themselves. I mean, the kind of self-service mode, right? And service catalog, when you use service catalog, it is more about, so when you go to a restaurant, right, and you ask for a menu, show me a menu, what will I order? This is what a service catalog is all about. That it will talk about that particular company or organization, what all services are they offering to the users. This is where service catalog comes into play, and it is again in all the products. This is something new which they've recently developed in the last 2-3 releases. Machine learning, because it is quite new in the market also, right? Machine learning, AI, analytics, and this is where technologically things are transforming to the next level. So that is why ServiceNow has also embedded all those great functionalities, all those technical new things, technologies in their latest releases. So it gives you that experience that, okay, yeah, you are doing some intelligent stuff there. Not only the basic, not only the workflows on the forms and lists, you're also doing some predictive intelligence. You are doing some high-level intelligence in terms of, okay, what all things have gone wrong, how can things do better. There are multiple things into all this space. We will go to that a little later in detail. And this is when I talk about web, mobile, conversational UX. So when I talk about interfaces, right? So this is the first interface which you have seen. This is the one which is the primary interface of ServiceNow. It is called as native GUI. Okay. Then you have something called service portal. So for example, if I just want to show you the service portal part. So this is how this looks like out of the box, which means it is accessible to the end users to raise their requests or to report their incidents. And this is accessible to everybody. How can we help? Request something, knowledge base, get help. So basic portal levels information, right? Current status of your issues, top rated articles, this is knowledge management here, announcements, my approvals, my open incidents. So all of those things which are specific to you and something which is having an organizational wide impact is all up here, knowledge, catalog. So when you go to catalog, you can see there are some catalogs built in there already. Browse by categories. System is a little, I think PDI is a little slow today. You can see this, these are categories, right? Hardware, you have some categories. So I can request an executive desktop. I can request a particular iPhone 6s. So all of these things, it is generally that add to cart feature which you have in all e-commerce websites, right? You go to Amazon, Flipkart. This is what you see, right? You can go via categories or you can directly do a search. So we will cover that catalog part a little later in detail because it is a part of our syllabus. If you see, it is already here, right? In point number 11. So I'm not going much into detail right now. I'm just telling you these are the different interfaces which ServiceNow offers to their end users. And then you have this mobile app. So I think you know that every other website nowadays, they always have a mobile app because this is where it becomes user intuitive. They can do things on fly. They don't need to log into laptop or desktop and start doing things. So this is where, of course, so they have already embedded all these new technologies in their interfaces, which can make people better user experience. And when I say conversational UX, it is about those chatbots, which you can, so for example, if you go to a website and then there will be a pop-up on the right-hand side, how may I help you? You must have seen that, right? On different bank websites or different e-commerce websites. How can I assist you?
Yeah.
And then so this is what is called as conversational UX, right? And developer tools, which is you can develop things from scratch. You can modify the things which are already there. This is what it is all about. So this is more of a overview session, if you see what I mean, right? And we're not going much into detail as of this stage. We'll go into details once we reach to these respective topics, right? I'm just telling you how does a platform look like. This is one. Now we talked about 4 workflows. Now what happens? This is the same thing which I was talking about. 4 workflows you have, right? Now what happens is you have a web interface, which I was talking here, right? So this is a complete configurable web interface. You can always configure things as per your requirements, and that is what you do actually when you implement ServiceNow for any customer, right? You have to configure these things. Few of those things need to be configured because by default, out of the box, they don't have those things handy with them, which are required for going live. So it is about the journey from out of the box features of ServiceNow to the organizational requirements, and then follow that SDLC cycle, do the transitioning, and actually release it to this customer production environment, right? So this is where you need to configure few of the, for example, I can rename this, I can change this, right? I can change the name of this particular icon. So this is what is called as configurable web-based interface. And even the portal part, if you remember, we have seen the portal, even that is configurable to a large extent. So all of these things, this is also configurable. You can change the categories, you can change the icons, you can change the workflow behind it. So a lot of things can be happened. So the power of ServiceNow I'm trying to tell you here is that it is a configurable web-based interface with a flexible table schema. So when I say table schema, so as I was talking about some time back, that ServiceNow has a database on its own, and it is a relational database because I think everybody uses relational database nowadays. So those tables are actually structured and they are having relationships from one table to another. We will talk about that part when we go further into the tables area, or we will talk about it in CMDB area. Sorry, I don't see there is a separate topic with tables. Yeah, but then we can, data schema is there. So we will talk about it there in details. But then what I'm trying to tell you is for any web interface or for any website, all you need is application server, web server, database, and everything, right? So all of this is inbuilt in this whole system, right? That is why, and it is quite configurable in nature. And that is where the power of the platform comes into play, that it is configurable, so you can configure it as per your own requirements. Okay. Now I'm talking about table schema. So you have a very big table schema there. You have a lot of, I'll just show you a high level view of tables, right? So many tables are there. See this. 5,651 tables are already there in out of the box, and you can create your new tables also as per the requirements. You can extend the existing tables, you can create some new tables. However, it comes with licensing implications. So we need to be a little careful in terms of adding tables and all those things, right? So if I talk about the entire interface, so entire interface has those 4 workflows. It has this configurable web-based user interface. It has flexible table schema, and it has a single system of record. So when I say single system of record, for example, if I go to any record, right, and if I kind of open and record here, right? So this is record, and this number will remain constant throughout the journey. You cannot change this number because it is auto-generated number, right? So, and you can take it to any further stages. You can associate it to any record. But then the idea is that if you see his here, right, it shows sys_id percentage 3D, and then there is a alphanumeric ID here. Can you see this?
Where? Yeah.
Right. So all these records in ServiceNow, whether it is a table, whether it is a form, whether it is a list, I mean, whatever incident record, problem record, change record, CMDB record, whatever records you have in ServiceNow, all of those will have a single sys_id, a single number on that incident, and it will remain constant throughout. That is why it is called a single system of records. So you don't need to have multiple records to do the same things. And if you might have a parent and child relationship, which is fine, that okay, you have a request at the top level and you have items under it, you have tasks under it, which is fine. This is the structure. But then single system record means that for that record, for that particular entity, it does not change throughout the journey. That is the concept here, right? Now, then there is a common data model. Now, is a big concept in itself. It is also called as common service data model. But common data model is, I mean, you can reuse the same model across multiple products. I mean, the hierarchy of things, right? For example, you have organizations, you have people into the organizations, right? And those people are a part of groups, right? And then you have those groups in incident form, in problem form, in change form. So, and then your entire CMDB, it is also structured into certain format that this is how the data model looks like of ServiceNow. So you should use out of the box data model. So these are basic things on the Now platform, which are reusable across all the products. As I said, workflows, as I said, flexible table schema, I said configurable web-based interface, I said single system of record, I said common data model. Okay. And also custom applications. Now, if you remember, I told you on that day that whatever applications you see up here, they are all already built in. So these are all built in, right? This is not custom application. However, if you want to configure a new application right from scratch, you can still develop it using these creator workflows, app engine. There are other things also to create it, but the idea I'm telling you is that you can always build custom applications in ServiceNow. And so actually when I say application, for example, if I select here, then this incident is an application. And these are the modules inside the application: create, new, assign to me, open, assigned. This is an application itself. Okay. Which means the entire life cycle of a particular, in this case, incident. So whatever you have, problem or change or other things also, right? So they always have a workflow associated to it. They always have those menus and those modules inside it. But then you always build custom applications also over and above what has been already offered in ServiceNow. Okay, we will not go much into what kind of custom application can be, because that is a different topic altogether. That is a very big topic. But the idea I was trying to give you was that you have all these things in the Now platform level, which can be reused across all the products. Now, if I talk about the architecture diagram of ServiceNow, I mean, okay, so do you have any questions so far on this concept we talked about, the table schema, the configurable web-based interface, single system record, common data model, custom applications. Do we have any questions there, or at a high level? Again, we are not going to details in this course because this course is quite limited in terms of content. You don't need to learn all of this for this basic course. And then everything has a detailed context behind it, which we can cover later depending on the syllabus. But if you have any questions, and you can ask me right now.
I'm good. At present, I'm good. If I get any, I'll just contact.
Perfect. Now let's talk about a little bit about the architecture of ServiceNow. Okay. And when I say architecture of ServiceNow, I think we talked about a few things earlier. If you remember, we talked about that it is application platform as a service, which is called as APaaS, right? Because it is application platform both. It is hosted on cloud, enterprise cloud. These are two very important things here. Now, there is one more thing which I can show you. So for example, this what you see here is this is a multi-instance architecture. For example, customer buys ServiceNow, and they are entitled to get multiple instances. For example, one is dev, QA, production, test, right? All those basic things. And you can also have multiple instances in your organization if you want for some uses. There are some use cases for which they want to keep some instance different. I mean, a normal use case is that you want an instance to be highly secured because it has some confidential data, and one instance is okay. You don't want to secure it so much as you want to secure the other one, right? In that case, you might have different instances, right? And when I say instances, it is the entire thing. So you have the hardware part, complete hardware part. And on the same hardware, you have, this is your software layer, right? The platform layer, which you call it. When you say now platform, this is a layer you have application, middleware, OS, and VM. Because this is all in the cloud, right? We are not managing these parts on our side because everything's in cloud. And then you host your instance on it and you manage your instance completely. So when I say instance, in my case, this is the instance I'm talking about. This is called as personal development instance, and that is why we call it as PDI all the time, right? So, which means that it has the capability to do a multi-instance architecture. You can host multiple instances in the same organization for the same customer, depending on the requirements. And the best part about this is that it can be, so you want to upgrade something, only this one, you don't want to touch this, you can do this, right? So if it has that flexibility to do things at an instance level, you don't need to do the entire thing here. You don't need to do for all instances together. You can do it only for your instance. For example, even when you do upgrades, right? So you do it first on dev, then you further do it on test environment, then you do it on pre-prod or UAT, and then you do it in production environment. Those are different instances. And the best part about it is that these instances can also communicate to each other. This is also an important thing to understand. Okay, so far so good. Did you understand the concept of multi-instance architecture? That every instance has its own application, has its own middleware, has its own OS, has its own VM, has its own hardware, and then you are hosting it on the top of it. Right? Now availability and redundancy. So ServiceNow has their own concepts of availability and redundancy, which means that they have already data centers across the globe, and they have DR capabilities also. I do not know how much of this terminology you are aware of. Then if you want me to tell you further about it, I can go further into that. But data center is something you understand, right? So data center is something which hosts the entire infrastructure physically, right? That is what you call as data center. You have virtual data centers also nowadays because clouds are hosted on virtual also, right? So what I'm trying to say is across the world, they have data centers. For example, in India, if they have a data center in India, then they'll have a data center also in Singapore or US to back it up, to use it as a DR. So for example, if India instance goes down, then they can always switch back to US instance or Singapore instance. That is how they maintain high availability in their infrastructure. That is why ServiceNow generally does not go down. I mean, in my 7 years of ServiceNow career, I have hardly seen it going down unplanned. Planned maintenance might be there because there is a patching exercise, there is an upgrade exercise, which is okay. Then they inform you in advance, okay, your instance is being planned for upgrade or some patching, so it will be down, which is fine. But unplanned downtime is hardly seen. So they are maintaining very high levels of availability in their entire architecture. Okay. And when I say resiliency, it means the same thing, that they can always switch over to a DR kind of environment. even the backups and security. So those backups which I'm talking about, so they have the backups, daily backups, they have weekly backups also. So for example, if your instance has a problem and it got corrupted, or you had tried to upgrade it and it is not coming up because of some technical problems, you can always restore it back from the backup, which ServiceNow takes automatically. However, as I said, they take daily and weekly type of backups. So then if you want to specify a date, you can always tell them. There is a concept of high portal. High portal is something which is called as hosted instance portal, which is where you raise support cases. For example, if you're stuck in something and you need ServiceNow help, this is where you raise a ticket on high portal. Generally, any product-based company, right? So if you are using the product and you're having a problem, you always raise a ticket, right? This is where I've tried to do this. It is not working this way. So they come up, they troubleshoot, and they come back with a solution. Similarly, on the same portal, you have the ability to schedule, reschedule a patching, reschedule upgrade. You can do everything there. So there also you can define that, okay, I want a backup, for example, till this date before I upgrade, please take a backup of my instance till this date, and I want to restore it if anything goes wrong in this case. So that is, so when you actually define the architecture, you need to think about all these concepts. I'm sure you might have not gone into that level of detail right now because the background you have. But generally, when you define architecture of any platform, of any new software or any new offering, you need to think about all these things: availability, capacity, continuity, security, performance issues, redundancy, multi-instances, multi-tenant, all those things you need to think about. You may not need to go much into detail at this point of time because generally that is taken care by solution architects. I mean, people like me generally look into those aspects. So, I mean, especially at an administration level, you don't need to bother about it. But however, you are supposed to know at a very basic level that ServiceNow has all these features in their architecture inbuilt. Okay, and when I say security, they also have security because they are using some international standard security when the data is transferred from ServiceNow to other systems, to the outside world, because ServiceNow is in cloud, right? Which means that whatever you do, there is always a communication channel between your organization interface to ServiceNow because it is in cloud, right? So that information transfer has to be secure enough. If it is not secure enough, people might have issues because there are a lot of security problems nowadays. So they are taking it very seriously. And sometimes they use a lot of features like encryption. You have some in-house encryption service now also. We'll not go into that detail further because it will be too much confusing for you. But what I'm trying to tell you is that they have the security built in across the data transfer layer. So whenever data is transferred from organization to ServiceNow, they kind of encrypt it using TLS scheme, and there are multiple other security protocols which they follow for that purpose. Okay. Now, any questions so far on that part?
No, all good.
High level understanding you got, right, in terms of architecture. Now there is a concept of domain separation. So for example, you have a global domain, and this domain, which means if somebody is, so you can host your instance in the global domain, or you can separate it in domain A or domain B, for example. And generally people do it. I'll tell you in use cases. For example, there's a use case where you are acting, your organization is acting as a managed service provider, and you have multiple clients to service to, right? And you don't want to spend money on multiple instances because of course everything costs you money. So in that case, what you do is you create domain separated instances for those customers. So same URL will be there, same instance will be there, but then they will see something else, you will see, and some other customer will see something else. This is where I just tried to make it a little better, that data processes admin does, these are common in the global domain. In case of domain A, these things are bifurcated. So data processor and does isolated from domain A to domain B, which means that these domains are accessible only by a limited set of users who have been given the access to actually look at these domains, right? And all the records in the domain are limited only to those users. However, whoever has access to global domain, they can see everything. So they kind of do a role-based access there. And in terms of role-based access, I'll tell you a few more things, right? So for example, when you were looking at this interface, which I was showing you there, right? So this is one interface, and the second interface was this one. So the kind of access you need for this interface is quite different from the kind of access you need for this interface, because this is the interface which the IT support teams or any support teams actually use to do their tasks. This is the interface which people just use to request and search knowledge and raise their incidents. They don't need to have access to this rich interface. You don't need access to this rich interface to everybody, right? You just need access. So it depends on roles. For example, somebody is an approval. You don't need to give them the entire access. You just give them the rights and they can see their approvals. For example, here, if I go here, I can see my approvals, right? And I can see all my approvals. You don't need to show them everything. Somebody who is a support team member or a service desk manager or a service management, he needs to have approval of everything. And you have reports in ServiceNow, you had dashboards in ServiceNow. You want to restrict those access levels. Okay, this dashboard is visible only to this set of people. This report is visible to only this set of people. So this is where you have role-based access controls. Okay, this is also important in terms of defining architecture, that you are defining, you've clearly identified your policies, organization policies, that this is how you're going to use the role-based access control. So generally, the guys who are working on the tickets, they have access to this instance, which is called as native UI. The guys who are raising tickets only, they have access to this instance. And in this instance also, you can change access to multiple levels. They said approval is one level, dashboard report is second level. You just want to give them access to incident module, not on problem module, for example, not on change module, right? So all of those things can be controlled via access controls. So if we have a topic around this, I think we have a topic around this in here, access control. We'll talk more about it in that, but then just to give you a high level idea that this is how ServiceNow architecture is based out of, right? Now, going back to this slide. So if you remember, I was talking about this case, managed service provider. So you have multiple clients to service to, and for every client you have isolated them into different domains. So this is how you do it. This is one use case. Second use case is, you are a big company, right? For example, Tata is a very big company. Now Tata has a lot of subsidiaries inside it, right? Tata Communications, Tata Telecom, Tata Software, TCS, you have Tata Steel, you have so many, right? But they don't want to use multiple instances of ServiceNow for every of the subsidiaries. So in that case, they can use one single instance and they can do the domain separation, and they can give access to certain subsidiary, one subsidiary here and second subsidiary here. So they can manage all those things in this particular instance. So it is also a domain separation environment wherein they can actually control the access levels. They can ensure that the use cases are catered to and they give the right level access to people, and people from this area should not be able to see things from this area. Okay, this is the whole idea about it. Now, if you see, there's one more concept here, which is called as multi-tenancy. This is the same thing I just talked about. Multi-tenancy. Tenancy. What is tenancy? Tenancy is in English. Tenant word is right. You have a flat and you give it to tenants in that case, right? Or you yourself are a tenant in one of the flats. So this is where the case is. You have instance and you have a hardware, but you have different customers. Customer 1, customer 2, customer 3, and this is where you have created a separate area for them, and separate area for them. So which means all of them are looking at this. This is the same thing which we just talked about here, to be honest. It is just a different view of looking at things here. So you have this, and one instance has, and it is hosting multi tenants. It is hosting multiple customers. That is the whole idea here. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are some basic things which you need to understand from the architectural perspective. This is, but we go much into detail around this concept, right? And now, if there is no other point there, then we can talk about the user interface. I think we talked about it already. You have mobile apps, you have service portal. We talked about it some time back. We have shown you service portal. We talked about mobile apps also. So mobile apps, so if you want to go to Play Store, and even Google Play Store, if you have Android, then you can Play Store, or if you have iPhone, you can visit your Apple Store, and you can search there Now mobile app. That app is for ServiceNow. So you can configure that app also, and that can be used by the entire company. Now there are three kinds of apps there. One is agent app. Second, now if I go further here, like I think I should be able to see that mobile apps thing. Just a minute. It's not here. I think it's here in learning section. So we talked about these interfaces, right? We talked about Now Platform user interface, which is the main UI, which we are looking at by all the time. This is ServiceNow mobile apps. And then third is service portal. We have seen this. And this is how the mobile app looks like. This is a mobile app. This is a main UI, right? And this is a portal, which we've just seen some time back, right? How to raise a request, request a catalog. This is a mobile app here. These are three different ways by which you can interact with ServiceNow. So these are user interfaces, which we just saw. And then there are three kinds of mobile app. I think this was here only. I just missed it. Just not sorry here. It should be here. So those mobile apps are three: agent, now mobile, and onboarding. So when I say agent mobile app, an agent mobile app is actually the one which support teams work on. I mean, they are working on incidents, problems, changes, requests. So for them, there is a comprehensive app where they can actually update tickets on the fly, right from the mobile. When I talk about now mobile app, it is actually the app which is used by the end users to request things, right? So if you remember service portal experience, so actually the mobile version of service portal is now mobile, if you understand what I mean, right? It is not the full user interface. Full user interface is only for agents. And then there is a third app called as onboarding app. The purpose of the onboarding app is to onboard customers, and onboard employees in an organization. They come up with a separate app called onboarding app, which is the main task of that app is to fulfill all those formalities for onboarding a new employee in the organization. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Right. So those are the three apps we talked about. Now, if I say, let's go back to the, now this is where your user interface looks like. So we'll first talk about this whole thing, right? This is very important here to understand. So this area is called as banner frame. This area where you have this icon, all of these, this is called as banner frame. This banner frame, and these are the kind of you will need to answer in the examination if you appear for CSA. So you need to be very, very clear about these terminologies. This is called as banner frame. This is called as application navigator. So use the word here, navigator, right? So all the applications which you have to navigate to, you have to do it from here. So this area is called as application navigator. So because if you see at a high level, this whole screen is actually split into three parts. This is the first, this is the second part, and this is the third part, this whole screen. And this is called as content frame. This is called as content frame. Okay. This is your ServiceNow homepage. You can rename it. You can rename it as per your organization homepage. This is the header on that. You can always rename that. I can show you how to do that as well. We'll talk about it. I'm just giving you the idea of the whole interface, how it looks like. This is where your actual journey starts. So whatever we have learned, it was at a very high level just to understand things, right? Why, how, what. This is the actual thing which you are going to do in your day-to-day operations. Okay, this is the screen you will always be logged into if you become ServiceNow administrator tomorrow. And this is where you have to do everything. Okay. Now this is a header. This is your login ID. In this case, right now, it is system administrator. You can see, and you can see there are two things. Profile. I mean, it will show me my profile. What is this profile all about? Let me just show you that. You see this? This is my entire profile. This is my first name, last name, business phone, mobile phone, title. All of this is here, right? Now, if I go to impersonate user, this is a very interesting feature in ServiceNow. Why is it an interesting field? I'll tell you. Because if you know, right, for example, if you have worked on some cases where you are expected to give support, or maybe in your testing background, you must be coming across few cases where the problem is not in the interface, the problem in the access level. For example, somebody does not have proper access, and that is why he is not able to see a certain thing, a certain set of things, right? Or something is read only for him. So as a tester, you always, and from that perspective, because you have a testing background and tomorrow you might go into ServiceNow testing, this is the most important thing you need to cater to, that which role are you trying to impersonate for this whole flow. For example, if I am raising, system administrator can do everything to a very high level. There's only one role which is over and above it. I'll talk about that role also. But what I'm trying to tell you here is that here you need to understand that what kind of person I am trying to impersonate. Is he the service agent? Is he the service manager? Is he the end user? Is he the only approver? Does he have only approver rights? So all those kind of access you have to understand, and for that you need to know that person name. For example, if I do this Abraham Lincoln here, he might not be able to see everything what I am seeing. So if you can see right now, it is system administrator. Now it is changed to Abraham Lincoln. Now the menus have changed. It is not the same menu here, because we have access to everybody, to everything. We don't need to, right? This is where this impersonation plays a very, very important role. And especially as a tester, this is the first step you always do while writing any test case. As a ... I want to go here, do this, and do this. So as a system administrator, you can do multiple things, but as few limited access, you cannot do. For example, you are not able to see if somebody is reporting a case for you. I'm not able to see a report. The first troubleshooting step in this case is you impersonate with his user ID, because you are already an administrator, which means you have rights to impersonate anybody. Okay, so you have the first level of troubleshooting is you impersonate that person in your instance and see the issue which he's reporting. Are you also not able to see it from his ID? If that is the problem, then it is all about access. If even using system administrator account, you cannot see this, then there's a problem at a configuration level. Does that make sense? This will be very, very useful for you, especially. Okay. Now, the third thing, if I talk about here, is this is elevate roles. This is only one role which they have to elevate to. This is called a security admin. Now, security admin role is a very, very sensitive role, which people do not generally give to everybody, because this is given to only those guys who know the system clearly, who know, because whatever they want to do here using this role can create problems later on for others. So this is a very, very important role where you define the backend level of access controls. So there is a way to manage the access from front end. I mean, for example, I am creating a group in ServiceNow, and in that group, I have given some sort of access to the group, and I have added the users to that group. So that is a very small thing that can be done by this web interface also. You don't need to go to backend table structure and everything. Now, after you give this role, you have to go to ACLs, access control lists, and the table structures. Okay, on this table, I am giving read-only access to all these roles, something of that sort. This is a sensitive role. People generally don't give it to you. I will not also tell you to use this role right now. We'll talk about this role further when we actually read this access control thing. Then we will explore this more. But right now, do not elevate a role to security admin, because you might do something which is not expected to be done. Okay.
Okay.
So this is good so far. Now, so if you see this, now let me come here, right? This is all applications. This is all the applications which you have access to, they are here. Now, if I do a search, for example, as I said, problem. So what will happen now? There are two things which will, and this is very important. This is again an examination type question here, right? What happens if I search the keyword problem here? First of all, it will show you the entire application of problem. So whatever is in this problem application, whether it has a keyword problem or not, it will also be visible. So you can see all of these, they don't have keyword as problem, but still they're visible because they are part of the application problem itself. However, wherever you have this problem as a keyword is also visible there. So is it, so you see this here, right? So problem properties.
Yeah.
So this is where, wherever you have the problem keyword, it is also visible. And here also it is visible because in these ATF suites, you have these problem management cases. Okay. So this is how the search behaves in ServiceNow. So search is a very important thing in ServiceNow. So what I'm trying to tell you is you need to understand that what do I need to search? For example, if I search the word report. So everywhere, wherever the word report is there, you will always see this here. So reports here also, if I show you, I'm sure they'll have a word. So they'll have something for reports here in this section. There will be some reports here in this section, right? Otherwise, you can see item license report, all the reports. Now, as I said, if you remember, it will also show you everything in the application called as reports. This is here, reports, and you have everything getting view run, create new scheduled reports, import tables, all of this. So whatever is inside this application reports will also be visible in this case. Okay, so this is very important to understand that how this search actually works. This is a favorite thing. This is called as favorite. So what, for example, I have created so many favorites for myself, right? So there are cases where you want to use your favorites because you don't want to use all the menus all the time. And you don't want to go for searches every time, right? So what you do is you kind of, for example, if I just want to see something like this, incidents. Now I am seeing all incidents, for example, all incidents, and I am putting a filter called, let me just, state is new. So which means every single day I want to see this particular report that, okay, all new incidents I want to see, for example. There are two ways to do it. One is that you click here and you drag and drop here. So do you see this here, right? I've just created this.
Yeah.
Right? So every time you just don't have to go and apply filters every time, you just can create it in favorites. Second thing is you can click here and you can click on create favorite. For example, if I just want to do one more thing here or state new and open on this month, for example, click on run. Nothing is open, right? But then I want to see this view for myself, right? I can click here, create favorite. So there are two ways to create favorite. As I said, one is to drag and drop this menu here, which I just did in front of you, right? Second way is to click here, create favorite, and you can change the name also. For example, incidents opened this month. I have changed the name as per my understanding. I want to change the eye color as well. Maybe I want to use this color. And I want to use this icon, for example. I can do this here. So all of these things will come up here. Do you see this? Color, yes. Icon. This is how the favorites thing actually works. So these are important things which you actually do day in and day out, and it actually helps you do your things more effectively. People generally don't use it, but this is where it adds the value in your day-to-day work. You can just add, for example, you can see there are so many favorites I have added already here, right? If I want to just look at it, I can look at whatever I want to look at. This is CIO roadmap, for example. This is I've taken here. It will open up the view. It will take some time. I will not go into that detail further. But what I'm trying to tell you is you can always create favorite. Now this is the tab which is called as history. This is called as history. So by default, the last 30 records you have accessed. So can you see this? I have accessed this filter just now.
Yeah.
Before that, I accessed this filter. Before that, I do these things, right? All these things.
Yes.
18 minutes ago, I've seen all of these things, right? So
yes. Hello.
Sorry.
Hello. Yeah. Shall we end this call here? I have a call at 11.
Okay, fair enough. Just finishing it off, yeah. So I think, yeah, this is the interface, and we'll talk about system properties and more things tomorrow. If today you have a call, so I think, yeah, I'll let you go. But then is that making sense to you? Is that something you're able to understand clearly now, right?
Yeah, actually, I'm just like everything I'm just getting right now in bits and pieces. I just need total time so I can just frame them together.
Yeah, so that is where you do some hard work at your end. Let me know if you need any from me differently. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Thank you very much. So I'll stop the recording for now.